back to the business. Means back to the trenches. You ain't even got a mention. I got vision. I got vision. Means back to the business. Means back to the trenches. You ain't even got a mention. I got vision. I got vision. I got vision. What? I got vision. Yeah.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Friday Night Live. I am Slim. As always, I'm joined by JT and Young Bakes. We got Uncle Juice back in the building tonight. Gentlemen, we are coming to you from the Self-Made Studios, and we are brought to you by Hybrid Promotions. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, man.
Doing good.
Good and spiritual, man. My great nephew was born a couple days ago, so it's a
congratulations!
That's awesome.
Gentlemen, we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. It is kind of a slow time right now, but there's still so much going on. We're gonna kind of jump into the college football playoffs here right away in just a moment. We're gonna bring some basketball talk to you tonight. Kind of give you an update across the Midwest as far as how everyone's team's doing at this point, since we are now into conference play, kind of getting to the meat potatoes of the schedule for the season. We are finally at the NFL playoffs. Those are going to be starting here on Saturday. Got a lot of representation in the playoffs this year here on the panel. And then we're just going to kind of close it out here with a little bit of transfer portal updates on what's going on here. But before we get into anything else here, Baked, I know you got this a little farther down the docket, but why don't you go ahead and get the formalities out of the way here for everybody, and we'll jump right into it right after that.
Oh, yes. We most definitely want to shout out our sponsors, OTT Records, Hyper Promotions, and Self-Made the Label Music. Most definitely.
Absolutely. Well, we were going to kind of talk about this Indiana-Oregon game here a little bit, but since this game is more than all but decided, we're just kind of counting down the minutes here until this game comes to an end as I'm looking over my shoulder right now. Indiana currently leading 42-15. Are any of you guys surprised to see Indiana just kind of put the belt to ass here on them like this? This is 2 weeks in a row now that they've done it to some pretty high-level opponents. Dude,
yeah,
does Miami have a chance?
It's a good question. We see what Indiana's doing to Oregon. It's hard to say that they do have a chance. I'm sure. I don't know. This was always a possibility, but I didn't think it was going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Indiana's going to come out on top no matter what. I just don't know what the deficit's going to be. So it's crazy.
Juice?
Well, and being Uncle Juice, I have all the nephews. So I believe it was around this time last year, I was talking to one of my oldest nephews, and he was like, Indiana's putting up like 42 to 49 points a game, like pretty much every game. So they started this, really last season, just belts to ashes. Now it is kind of a shock because it's Oregon, and we know how Oregon likes to stockpile talent. But we're starting to see the differences in the conference. Everybody always wants to crown the SEC, but we starting to see talent comes everywhere. I've been saying it all. Signetti got that mob money, and the mob come in, they come to clean up. They come to shut stuff down. There's no way that they should have taken over the entire division like they did in such a short time, if not for dedication, believing in the program, and knowing your abilities. So I thought it would be a little bit closer, but belts to asses tonight seems a bit appropriate. You're getting ready to go into that championship game, and you don't want to leave no doubt.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I was just gonna say, I think that's an interesting point about the SEC, because I was looking at the history, and this is going to be the third straight college football national championship game where the SEC is not represented.
Thank God. Can we just all take a moment and And praise the Lord that
That
this is
money gets
happening
spread
to
out
such a
everywhere
great
now.
group of individuals that exist out there.
Yeah, that money's getting spread out everywhere. The SEC can't just stay on top because now it's an even playing field. Everybody got a checkbook.
Yep.
Absolutely. Bakes, are you sad to kind of see Old Miss's run kind of end with the whole Lane Kiffin saga and calling coaches back and everything that's kind of led to this point? I know personally, I wouldn't have mind seeing them go all the way, but with at the same time, that means Lane Kiffin's going to get paid every win they get. So
Yeah, I like to take my hat off to those guys. They most definitely did their thing this year, especially with the adversity of the coach and just moving out overnight and taking a whole nother job and collecting bonus checks. But more importantly, Miami should not be slept on. Their run in this playoff has been tremendous. As you guys mentioned, belt to ass. They may not have mob money, but they've been serving up. So I wouldn't sleep on Miami. I'm looking for it to be a competitive game. Personally, I don't care who wins, but it would be good to see a Big Ten team go ahead and take that crown.
And it's crazy
It's
because
crazy.
Miami
Like,
didn't even almost get in the playoffs.
Miami.
yeah, I mean they were the team that everyone was, other than Alabama, that was the team that everyone was fighting for, that maybe shouldn't have been in, and here they are. They've rattled off 3 straight wins, and now they're basically playing a home game for a national championship. I know that crowd probably won't be. It's probably getting pretty close to a 50-50 split, especially if it's Indiana with all the money that those people have. Looking at the crowd tonight in the Peach Bowl, it is almost wall to wall red with green sprinkled in right now in the crowd. Anytime they've had a crowd shot, so
Those fans are Notre Dame fans, they kind of just bandwagoning right now.
yeah,
I saw an interesting stat that the Indiana University has the largest living alumni base amongst all universities.
really
It's 850,000 living alumni. So
interesting.
they were always there, and they just kind of needed to win to get those people out of the woodwork. It's pretty crazy to see Indiana do this, considering what they used to be and what that team used to look like.
Yeah, technically the worst program in college football history up until about January of 2024. There, it seems like.
Yeah,
I would like to give it to Michael Penix Jr. He's the one who kind of like put them back on the map as far as on a football standpoint before he
Yep.
went to Washington.
Yeah, you kind of forget that he was
It's
there at one point.
especially being right here in the Midwest. Just seeing teams that just have never been able to make it just be on the stage right now and fighting for supremacy is it's kind of really cool to see.
Yeah. Everything needs parity, man. You get tired of seeing the same, 5, 6 teams
Oh,
up for the
100%.
championship. And I think that was a hard thing for the committee this year because you got Notre Dame, you got Miami, you got a lot of top prestigious schools, and everybody wants a shot. But fair is not just a place where they judge pigs or something that you pay on a bus. You got to be fair to everybody. Now, would the playoffs have looked differently if you put Notre Dame in instead of Tulane? Who knows? They could have ended up getting rolled the same way that they did, but that's the beauty of the expansion of the playoffs. My only thing is these kids got to get ready for the NFL draft. So the more that you expand the playoffs, the more that you taking the risk of getting injured before you get ready to go get that NFL bag.
Yeah, that's a good point to note. And with the way that this kind of is growing, I know they're talking about adding more games. At this point, I hope they don't do that. Right now, why don't we just kind of see what we got first? But yeah, it's going to become more of a question how deep these guys are going to want to play if they're going to push you to the end of January now to play playoff games. It's going to be a lot harder for some of these guys to play 16 games and then turn around and go right into an NFL draft if that's what they're looking
Well,
for.
look at somebody like Mendoza. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. He's still playing in the playoffs right now, trying to win a championship. At what point do you sacrifice your championship for your future aspirations or vice versa?
Right. Absolutely. That's I think that's pretty much about all we got here for college football. Bix, I know you want to squeeze in another sponsorship here. I do have to apologize real quick. I thought I had a graphic loaded up, but I do not have one ready to go. So if you want to kind of bring us in here, maybe I can find one to pull up real fast.
Oh yes, Self-Made the Label and Hybrid Promotions and OTT Records. I got a big show coming up January 16th on a Friday. Show starts at 8 o'clock.
That
It's
I do
called Hip
have.
Hop Volume 1.
I
I'm real excited.
I believe we got some codes to the website as well that you wanted to mention to everybody.
Oh yes, most definitely. At www.selfmadeTheLabelHybrid.com. Use code JT or code SLIM for 15% off all our merch, uh, concert tickets, anything we got on the website for sale. It's most definitely 15% off with those codes. So make sure you guys check out the
There's some
website.
nice stuff on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure you like, subscribe.
if I had deep pockets, I'd probably buy almost one of everything on that website. So if you have a chance, please check it out. There's some good stuff you don't want to miss out on. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on here to some college basketball talk. There is currently two teams here within about 45 minutes and 2.5 hours from me that are currently 15-0. Why don't we go ahead and start here with the team from the West? And that is your Nebraska Cornhuskers. 15-0. Best starting program history. Hoiberg's got the boys rolling. I want to hear from you, Husker guys. Man, what's this been like? Kind of leading up to this point, because it's been pretty quiet so far. But I mean, the noise has got to be coming.
It's almost like we sacrifice greatness on one thing to be great on something else. Nebraska is always one of those schools that, the baseball, the volleyball, things like that are always like in the forefront because those boys and girls play so hard. But when we got a NBA coach, I was waiting to see NBA caliber. With the NIL and things of that nature, it opens up for an even playing field for, teams who haven't been able to compete in a long time. And I'm just proud of them boys, man. Like they work their behinds off, and you've been seeing a slow progression over the last few years with the Husker basketball team. We getting there, but we ain't there. Okay, we got a couple more players now. We getting a little closer. It's kind of like watching, Indiana in football. It's a slow progress into, prosperity. And
That's a
they
good
work really
comparison.
hard down there. And, it's like with Indiana, Midwest teams, we just want to go out there. We want to cheer for our team. We want to rep our city. And it's a beautiful thing to see that all the money and the progress is just starting to make a payout. Now, the last few games, they kind of, seem to be getting a little lacking. And I kind of want them to bring the intensity back. And it's going to be hard to stay undefeated. But even if it's just, for a little bit right now, I'll take a sweet 16 or a sweet 19. But the hard part is coming.
Yeah, I don't have anything for their schedule coming up here, so I can't speak on what they're looking at coming up. But I mean, the Big Ten is just like any other conference. They have their giants you're going to have to slay, if you want to be there for the next step. They're pretty much squarely into the Big Ten tournament. JT, I can't remember if it's this year that they're going to. Every team's included. I know they used to have if you're in the bottom 3 or 4, you don't get in. I can't remember if that ends this year or next year.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But the Huskers are squarely in, and at this point, they're tied for the top of the conference. And technically, they have a better record than Purdue, who has a loss to the other team we're talking about here. But Biggs, I want to give you a chance to kind of jump in here real quick and you guys kind of deserve the flowers and deserve this moment. This has been a long time coming for Nebraska basketball.
Definitely. We have a game tomorrow. We play Indiana at Indiana, and then Tuesday we got Oregon. So that's going to be a big game as well. So, but as far as the record and the coaching, it's really, really a blessing to see us doing so well. I mean, I haven't been this excited since Rodney Buford played for Creighton, if you want me to be honest with you.
Phew,
So
man.
this most definitely is a blessing, though, for real. With the ability to get grad transfers and to get in the transfer portal and put together a team and get these guys together defensively, running the schemes, and no one's playing harder than the coach's son right now. So it's a treat to be a Husker fan.
Yeah, Fred Hoiberg's kind of the OG king of the transfer portal, if you would. Starting way back when he first got to Iowa State back in 2013, 2012, whenever that was. Back when there was still at least a little bit of integrity in college sports. It might not have been much, but it's better than what it is now. With that being said, why don't we go ahead and move on to the other 15-0 team here. JT, I did not get a chance to watch much of that game on Wednesday. I'm curious as to if you were able to watch the whole thing and what your reaction is to kind of the way the Clones are pulling these things out right now.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance. I got a chance to watch a little bit of the game. Drake was on shortly after Iowa State, which is a whole other story. So I was unfortunately watching that game instead of Iowa State. But I will say, kind of more from a big picture, it was nice to just see Iowa State take care of business. It doesn't sound like it was a particularly pretty game from looking at the box score, but it's a kind of a sleepy weekday road game at a place where Iowa State's gotten tripped up before.
Yep.
You might remember, I think it was last year that they lost a really heartbreaking game where Milan kind of made that almost like full court or half court shot, and then it got waved.
That was 2 years ago that happened.
Was it 2 years ago? Okay.
Yep.
So just a place that Iowa State has gotten tripped up before. It was just nice to see them take care of business. And just kind of hope they can keep on this run. I saw a tweet from, of all people, Cyclone Larry, friend of the program, who said this: if Arizona and Iowa State continue on this path that they're looking on, I think that game is one of the first games of March. It could be one of the greatest regular season college basketball games of all time. You could be looking at an undefeated number 1 and undefeated number 2 playing each other in March right before their conference tournaments. There's a chance that Iowa State and Arizona could play each other 3 times in the month of March. So you got a long way to go before that happens. It certainly could. I mean, honestly, it's probably likely that both teams get tripped up at some point. That's just how it goes. But it's exciting to think about, because I don't think we've ever seen a run like that. Yeah, that's that March 2nd game at Arizona. No matter what happens, I think at this point it's going to be a huge game, and it could be the first of 3 in the month of March.
Yeah, they like you said, it's kind of a sleepy schedule for both teams up until that point. Granted, like you said, they're both probably not going to be undefeated, especially looking at the schedule that the Clones have coming up there. Once you get to about the middle of February, they got, 5 or 6 straight games. There has to be something done about the way that these conference schedules are balanced out. You can't have teams playing, what I would consider mid-tier competition, and then you backload a schedule. Kind of what you're looking at here. It'd be nice to see them maybe play Houston at some point in January, maybe get Texas Tech, some point in the middle to late January, rather than playing kind of all of your weaker opponents at the beginning. There's got to be a way that you can spread that schedule out. And I know with these conferences getting bigger, Nebraska's going to be going through the same thing. I'm just kind of curious as to what you guys think about if there's a way to combat that, or if this is just kind of the new norm. You're seeing it in college football as well, for what it's worth.
Yeah, and I think it's a bigger issue in college football just because there's fewer games and obviously just these huge conferences. I think something that Williams had talked about at some point last year that I think is a really good point is if college football would ever go to some sort of flex scheduling for maybe the last one or two games of the conference season. I think that'd be a really interesting thing to address. I know the logistics would be hell, but if you at least know that you're going to be, you know who your home teams are going to be, you could probably make it work. I guess I'm not too concerned about it from a college basketball standpoint. It's just kind of how things go at this point. I like college basketball just because you at least get a chance to play everybody once, which doesn't happen in college football
Right.
anymore. And so I think it's probably a bigger deal in college, and it'd be interesting to see if they ever did any kind of flex scheduling. Um, I guess it's not quite the same as what the NFL does because the NFL flexes the games for TV prime time. This would be a little bit more extreme of flexing, where you're actually flexing the games themselves, the matchups, the opponents. So it's a bit radical, but I think it'd be an interesting decision considering you have these 16 team conferences, but you only have whatever it is, eight conference games, whatever it is,
Right.
maybe even less. So that's kind of what I think about it.
Juice, Bakes.
Well, I like to say that the sky is the view, not the limit. These guys got to go out here and play ball. You can't be afraid to take a loss. You got to go out there and play basketball, be fearless. You know what I'm saying? You got to get together with your team, discuss what you guys need to do. You guys need to make the proper adjustments and go out there and play. So that's my opinion on it.
I definitely think it's a situation where you gotta go persistence over perfection. Like, would it be nice to have an undefeated season? Yeah, but we got to take it one game at a time. Like, if you start looking to the playoffs or Sweet 16, like, you got to eat what's on your plate.
Right.
I can't look at your plate and be like, "Oh, you got something good over there. Let me eat what I got in front of me and then see if it's any leftovers." And, some people they get strived up on perfection, and it's nice to see 16-0, 32-0. But I much rather I would take a championship over a perfect season anytime. And if you don't believe me, go ask any Patriots fan that you've ever talked to about their perfect season. And as far as it comes to, like NIL and stuff like that, basketball is more condensed. You got 2 rounds to get into the NBA draft. You have a shorter time window to have to be in college, so it can be a little more hit or miss because these guys are looking 1 to 2 years after high school. I'm trying to get to the NBA, and as far as college it fails based on its own system. You have to be 3 years out of high school before you can apply for the NFL draft. Based on that
Right.
fact, you have almost 5,000 players trying to switch to different schools so they can hurry up and kind of shot in the arm themselves to the NFL. And college basketball is a little more parity and it's like hyperactive on that. So you kind of got to be hit or miss on the people immediately. And nobody's trying to be there 3 years in college basketball.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing about the NIL, and we'll move on here in just a second. But the interesting thing with the NIL is that like you said, it levels the playing field a lot more in college basketball because it's a hell of a lot easier to pay, 6 guys to, field a highly competitive basketball team rather than, having to pay 20 to 35 guys a decent chunk of change to try and field a competent football team. We're kind of seeing that in the playoffs this year with what happened to Texas Tech. Yeah, they had an elite defense, but if you can't move the ball more than 5 yards, you're just you're going to see what you saw on the scoreboard, and you're not going to put up any points. And we all know how sports work. Whoever scores the least amount of points usually tends to lose the game. So you can't sleep on that fact that you're spending all this money, but then you don't go spend on a quarterback, and they've kind of went out and spent on a quarterback. Since we're kind of on the topic here real quick, I'll go ahead and slide this in. These are the updated top 10 players in the portal. JT, I'm sure you remember I had this up a couple weeks ago, and there was a certain player from Iowa State on this list that has since fallen off of the list. Now, I don't know if this is the currently available list,
This is
but
last-
half these guys on this list have already committed somewhere
Mhm.
else.
Yeah, and I guess I'm kind of surprised to see Brendan Sorsby so low on that list. I think he was considered kind of the crown jewel of the quarterback class. I mean, just look at where he ended up. Sorsby landed at Texas Tech, choosing Texas Tech over LSU. Levitt's still on the board.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, he's been kind of an interesting story where he's probably had like 2 or 3 situations where you thought he was locked in. When the portal first opened, it seemed like he was a shoo-in to go to Kentucky. Then once Sorsby elected to go to Tech, you thought that Levitt was going to go to LSU. Then you had all this drama with the Washington quarterback, and
Yes.
then LSU trying to pitch the Washington quarterback, which is a whole other can of worms. And then I think that Levitt has gone on I think he went to Tennessee on a visit, and then he's gone somewhere else. So essentially, I think the transfer market for quarterbacks is kind of in limbo a little bit, because you had a couple of pretty significant situations where you got the kid from Ole Miss gets denied a waiver.
Yep.
You got the kid from Washington has to go back to Washington. So those are two spots that opened up. And so it kind of allows everybody to kind of bump up 1 or 2. Like DJ Lagway from California or Florida, he kind of like soft committed to Baylor, but then kind of said he's keeping his options open. So it's really just a game of dominoes where everyone's just waiting for the top guy. It's kind of just like it's almost like it's happening like one at a time. Like nobody wants to commit until they know for sure what the absolute highest option is. So I think that's kind of where we are right now. There's just a little bit of log jam because guys are still figuring out waivers and the crazy stuff with the Washington guys. So I think that's what you'll want to keep an eye on is where does Ole Miss end up going, where does LSU end up going, and that once those 2 schools figure out what they want to do, then we should start to see some movement with these quarterbacks.
Anybody
I
else got
agree
anything they want to add on there?
Like you see, Raiola, he hasn't found any place. He's been tied to a couple different teams, and he's just still sitting there and wondering, like, does anybody want me?
Well, I think what they're also kind of looking for is who's going to give them the most amount of dollars. And that's, kind of where that log jam's created, is because nobody wants to commit too soon and then potentially miss out, on $200,000, $300,000. The interesting thing about this list is, other than Raiola, it's a bunch of guys that have 1 year left. I think, other than maybe Mestmaker. I think Mestmaker's got, he's got 2 or 3 left. And, yeah, go ahead.
As I look at the list, Sam is gonna get the bag. So there's still like a 7 to 10 day window for the teams at the championship game to get in the portal and make some things happen. So there's also still some more players coming, but it's kind of like an NFL head coaching job right now. Like you want to go to the exact right fit. You want to do your research. When you're a top guy, you're a top guy for a reason, and you're trying to go somewhere that can translate you being the first pick in the draft. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get on my soapbox a little bit because I do see a young man from Nebraska that is still in the transfer portal. And this leads to what I talked to somebody about earlier. With the addition of the transfer portal, you don't get kids that want to come here, want to sit down for 3 to 4 years,
Right.
become what they need to be and progress to become an NFL player. I think my man thought he was gonna get a lot of offers in the transfer portal. He thought he was gonna get the bag chase, and now it's like all your options are starting to dry up, and it kind of looks like you should have sat your ass at Nebraska and developed like you needed to, but you were too busy chasing the bag instead of chasing the legacy that was set in front of you. Now he's a grown man. I'm not his particular uncle, but I would have definitely sat there and been like, "Look at the playing field. The grass ain't always greener. And what happens if nobody picks you up and you
You're
can't come to
screwed.
Nebraska?"
Yeah, you're screwed. And a lot of these guys are going to kind of run into that. I mean, there's something like 6,000 people in the portal right now.
It's gonna be a
And there's
two
only like
athlete.
4,000 spots. So that means, I mean, if you do the math, that means there's at least going to be 1,000 kids that are probably left out with nowhere to go and no money to be sucked up because they're getting bad advice from people that are trying to cash in on them. And it's going to have some regulation that comes with it because it's almost kind of turning into a predatory situation with how some of
I
these.
said that because what they want to happen is they want Congress to step in and start making regulations. But Congress has Congress things to do. So Congress refuses to get involved with it. What needs to happen is we need to have pay structures set out, and there needs to be rules in place if you want to transfer. If you want to transfer
Yes.
and we gave you $3.5 million, we need to come to a set amount agreement of how much money you give us back so we can use that money to get somebody who actually wants to be here. We can
Yep.
sever your contract and you can go on about what you want to do. But because of things like COVID, contracts, and several other situations, it's just the wild, wild west. Let's look at it from a standpoint of playing college football. There's roughly 137 teams on the game. If you put 4,500 players in the transfer portal, a
It's
lot of these dudes
ridiculous.
don't end up as used car salesmen or in Division 2 or Division 3. There's only so many spots, y'all.
Yeah, and that's a great point with the damages and things like that. Because in my opinion, it's ultimately up to these coaches because the regulations are in place where now that schools can kind of have these agreements directly with the players, they can put time limits on them. They can say that they're going to lock this player up for 2 or 3 years. Obviously, both sides need to agree to it, and because something that hasn't been reported on a lot that I did see is that's actually what happened with Brendan Sorsby, is that Sorsby was signed to a longer term deal relatively to Cincinnati, and he actually owed Cincinnati $1 million to
Really?
go play at Texas Tech, and I think that's how it needs to go. I mean that's how it works with coaches, and so it ultimately
Right.
just comes down to the coaches need to kind of decide to stand firm and realize that if you're going to come here, it needs to be for a 2 or 3 year commitment. If you decide you don't want to fulfill that commitment, you're going to owe us some damages so we can kind of do our thing. Um, but kind of from what I've heard, sometimes even the coaches don't want to go that long term. They don't want to commit to a player for that long, and so that's just where it gets the wild west. So I think, but both parties just kind of need to decide that they want to lock in for a little bit longer. So I hope that's kind of where we kind of go with things. But yeah, at the end of the day, we just have to wait for Congress to step in. I saw the tweet about the tweet about Iowa State losing all their players received a lot of attention from a lot of various senators. I think like Ted Cruz and
Yeah, Marco
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 Rubio.
Rubio tweeted
Rubio
out
and
at him.
Ron DeSantis. So I mean, there is some interest in it because ultimately the NCAA can't make rules anymore.
No, they can't, and
As
they're
much as
could be sued right now. So
yeah,
that's what
they keep getting sued.
Yeah, they get sued left and
they
right.
don't about kids.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that's naturally gonna happen. Like as we talk about all these different hills and cliffs, like what about if I signed a 2-year contract and my coach gets fired in the middle of it? Is there some type of clause that I can get out of that, or do I have to stay in that 2-year deal with some new coach that might not be a scheme fit for me? So there's a lot of gray area in this, and that's why they want Congress to come in and play daddy.
Yeah, and let's be real. If we're gonna ask Congress to come in and fix the situation, then we've already lost the plot, and we're probably headed down a road of nothing good, if Congress has to make a vote for us to decide what we're gonna do, we could probably all go ahead and assume that nothing good's gonna happen.
But honestly, and when it comes to like your coach leaving, I mean, it's up to the players to put that in the contract. So I mean, maybe as this process begins to mature and players and coaches think of different things to like standardize in contracts, maybe that'll happen. You can put whatever you want in a contract. You can decide,
Right.
whatever. If you as long as both parties agree to it, you could put the craziest clauses in there if for whatever happens. So it just kind of comes up to these players and these coaches and these agents and the lawyers to be creative and be forward thinking and be kind of predict what might happen when creating these contracts. So I think that's ultimately what's going to happen is you just have to get creative with what you put in the contract.
And as all these players even earning their bag though?
That's a really good question.
I mean, what is
Yeah,
earning back? Like, if you give me $500,000 to come here and play, and I get injured, how many yards did I need to earn that back?
See, we've had this conversation for 5 minutes and we've already found the slippery slope of
no, you're right because I guess
You got
I
that right.
contradicted myself because I said
I
you can
wouldn't
put
consider
anything in the contract.
500,000
You
bag.
can't
Talking about
put
guys making
you,
millions of dollars for their NIL. Like, are all
you,
these guys earning their money? Like, are they really producing?
Well, you got to look at production versus what you paid. If I paid $4.5 million for a quarterback, that's about the going rate of a starting NFL rookie quarterback. So based on that, what are my expectations? If I'm paying you 4.5 million in college, I expect to be going to the playoffs. If I'm paying you 4.5 million dollars in the NFL, I'm expecting you just to stay upright for 16 games.
Well, do we put deductibles on these guys?
And what is the return on investment? Like, if I'm paying you $5 million and you end up playing 4 games, should I get some of that $5 million to come back in this bag? What was the insurance on you getting on that field? See, you get into some very slippery slopes when you start really looking into the money versus what you're getting as return on investment. Do you think
yeah,
Texas is getting what they paid for Arch Manning right now?
yeah. I
I
guess the one thing that I would say to that though is that it's really no different than any other sport though. I mean, if some NBA player is not playing up to his contract, or some NFL player, so like I get it, and I guess it's ultimately up to the people that are paying the contracts if they want to continue to pay for it. So I get the point. I just think it's just kind of is what it is. You're taking risks when you're signing guys to big money contracts, just like you are in any other sport. And like I was saying, one of the few things you can't put in these contracts, from what I understand, you can't put like stat incentives in there. So that's one thing that they can't do, is that they can't base it on the performance,
interesting.
which I think is fair, because that's kind of how everything is. I think it'd be a tough burden to put on these kids if they had to kind of, I know it's weird to say, if they kind of had to earn their bag. I get that it's weird, but I think it's the fair way to go.
Well, to
Uh
piggyback your point, that's why everybody chases the NFL or the NBA bag, because the NBA bag is fully guaranteed.
Yep.
yeah.
Ben Simmons.
Like, look at Ben Simmons. That man robs a bank probably every Tuesday with no gun.
John Wall.
Yep.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook there the last 3 years,
A lot of
Bradley
people
Beal
expect
getting
Bobby
paid $50
Bonilla
million
type
for
deal
nothing.
to sit there and stink.
Or to sit there and not play. Bradley Beal didn't play for 40 or 50 games last year, and he still got
Hey, you saw me street
still got
clothes
all that
Jones
money.
type of money he getting. I
Yeah,
could I could put on some fly clothes and sit there and watch the game like everybody else.
yeah, it's I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to pretend I'm smart enough to know what the answer is for this. And I don't really have a lot of faith that the people that are ahead of us making these decisions are a lot smarter on this than either of us sitting here right now. So it's really kind of hard saying what what's going to come from this, and who's going to continue paying $20 million a year to watch their football team either go 9-3. And then, like you said, Juice, what's my return on investment for giving $20 million to the university to go pay a quarterback that tore his ACL in week 4 and the season's over now?
Look at the teams down in Texas and look how much money they spending. Like you're gonna want more
That's what
teams
I'm
coming up.
saying. I mean, they paid almost $40 million to score 0 points in the college football playoffs. I mean,
That's the crazy stat.
that means you paid $40 million infinitely to score 1 point because you technically didn't score at all. So, I mean, where did that money really get you in the long run?
That was a very expensive point.
Well, they didn't even score 1 point. So, yeah, something's got to change, and hopefully they can kind of figure it out and right the ship in our lifetime, or the money's going to dry up, and these guys are better at spending money than banks.
Well, you give a good example right there. They spent $40 million on offense. Now, what happens if 5 or 10 of those players are projected to go to the NFL draft and we're in this scenario? How many of those players sit that you just spent $40 million on?
And do they get an incentive or a bonus if they do make the if they do go on a playoff run? Do they get more money because they did well, or
what do the players get for winning these games?
one would argue?
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do. You have to. I mean, and that's kind of what I said. That's how you have to save these smaller bowls, is that you have to have these incentives, and they come along with playing in the bowls. So it gives them incentive to continue on with the season, because obviously, yeah, they don't get, as far as I know, these guys don't really get specific money to play in these games. So I think that's another big step.
Food vouchers and
that doesn't.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work for me no more. I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah,
they get lifetime.
That used to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that was back when you couldn't have a cheeseburger with your coach.
We have no idea what the players are getting. Everybody knows how much money Lane Kiffin's getting every game to not be there. We don't know how much the quarterback or the wide receiver is getting.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if that maybe is another thing that can bring this more to the forefront and make it more public for everyone, and maybe that could maybe change some opinions. If I could see what DJ Lagway is going to make it at Baylor, if that's where he doesn't indeed end up going, does that maybe deter another team that's looking for a Raiola? That look, I'm not paying DJ Lagway money for you. Like you did. Arguably, both these guys didn't really do a whole lot to impress a lot of people last year, and other than Mestamaker looking at this list, and maybe Sorsby, I mean, the 3 quarterbacks here didn't really do much to, at least in my opinion, to go out and earn an extra $1 million.
No, I most definitely agree. I know Lagway didn't earn his money. Raiola was injured in both seasons, so paying him money is kind of crazy. I guess when you're a 5-star, they're going to be coming at you heavy.
Right.
They're just going to throw money at you.
I mean, I've been looking at this list, and I just see a lot of wasted money outside of like 1, 2, and 3. I just see a lot of potential that wasn't matched up, and now you chasing the bag, because if you were to go to the league this year, you'd be a 3rd to a 5th round pick. So if I can make 3rd to 5th round pick money and stay in college, I'll be Van Wilder.
Yep.
I'll be in college 9 years.
Yeah, I mean, look at Cam Ward. Cam Ward played 7.
Well, I
you
guess
got to chase the bag where it's most relevant.
I will say one thing. This information will be public. I assume at some point, because these are half of these are, well, more than half, I assume, are public universities. So I guess that'll be kind of interesting. Obviously, it's not in real time, and people need to submit Freedom of Information Act requests, and even some nonprofit universities. A lot of that stuff is public record as well. So Obviously, especially in that case, that's not in real time. That lags years behind. But with the public schools, I think they can get that stuff pretty immediate. Like I think somebody got their hands on Brendan Sorsby's contract with Texas Tech, I believe.
5 million, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be kind of interesting to see once that becomes more commonplace. You know, yeah. I mean, kind of like you guys said, just kind of seeing what it looks like, and just seeing what everybody gets paid and what the market is and where the discrepancies are. So that'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure there's a lot of journalists out there licking their chops and sending those requests in to see what's under the hood.
Like, I just
Yeah.
have one question, fellas. Do you look at anybody on this list, and do you believe in the next 5 to 10 years, anybody on this list will be dominating the NFL?
No.
I can see maybe 2 players.
Maker, if anybody. And maybe
I can
Coleman,
see
I guess.
Sam, I can see DJ maybe doing something depending on where he goes. But if I look at this list, I don't see a lot of NFL game changers. I see a lot of dudes that's going to be in college chasing bags.
Nick
Yeah.
Marsh, maybe. I guess we'll see what he can do here at Indiana.
Yeah, and that's the other thing why these guys are doing all they can to scratch and claw for every dollar, and because they realize that a lot of them aren't going to make the big money in the NFL, so it's the only chance they got.
Yeah, there's most definitely no loyalty to any of these teams. A team that just paid you for 2 consecutive years, gave you in between $4 to $6 million within 2 seasons. You just go bounce out on them.
Life-changing money that you just walked away from. Got your mama in the house, got you out the projects, and you just, thanks for the bag. I'm going to go chase another one.
Yeah, I'm out of here, guys. It's
no loyalty amongst thieves, man.
Yeah, you're kind of dealing with that at Iowa State right now, and just seeing guy after guy leave. At least the good news, but as far as that front goes, is nobody else can leave at this point. So the bleeding has kind of officially stopped for them. I know they've got a bunch of transfers coming in. We'll kind of get to that here in the future. Obviously, we're kind of keeping an eye here on the Nebraska situation with who they bring in at quarterback. I know there are rumors that they might get that kid from Missouri with I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but we talked about him. I believe it was last week.
Bo Pribula.
He kind of pulled a Houdini on Nebraska at the 11th hour with Kentucky coming in and.
Oh, you're talking about Kenny Minshew.
Yep,
Minshew. Man. Oh, somebody throws you that bag 11th hour and it's like 1 million, 4 million. I'm not the best at math, but I'll take 4 over 1 all day long.
Right, exactly.
Nebraska got to stop lowballing these dudes in the transfer portal anyway. I think that's a bigger issue, but we'll get to that later.
I do kind of want to put a pin in this, and we'll kind of see where it ends up here in the next couple of weeks. I do want to get kind of back on schedule. JT, I do want to bring up, unfortunately, your Bulldogs here suffering a pretty hard loss the other night. I know I said last week that I was in the building for the Illinois State game, and they are a fun team to watch, but there's definitely some growing pains going on with them this year. I mean, you got your last 3 coaches are currently Big Ten coaches. So you're really trying to rebuild again for the, almost the 4th time in 6 years.
Yeah. And I'll try to make this quick. We can probably move on to the NFL stuff afterward, but yeah, it's been an up and down week, and they had a really good gritty win against Indiana State. But then just an embarrassing loss in Peoria against Bradley. Drake was down by as much as 40 at some points, and you knew those growing pains were going to be there. But the unfortunate part about it is that there's a lot of talk about maybe guys not showing that much effort, and that's just not the kind of thing that you want to see. But at the end of the day, this team's still 8-8. It's nothing to get too worked up over. There's fans that are calling for Eric Henderson to be fired. They're calling for the athletic director to come out and make a statement, which is just ridiculous. I can't believe I've gotten to the point where Drake fans have gotten so spoiled. What a world we live in. But yeah, that's I'll kind of leave it there. I'll keep it short and sweet. It's tough going, and we'll see what happens. There's a lot of season left, and it seems like the season's not going to go how we thought it would. But I don't have any long-term concerns yet at this point. So I'll leave it there, and we can move on to the NFL.
I'll give you a great quote, and this is for any team that's rebuilding. If you're not going to play for the name on the front of your jersey, play for the one on the back.
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem that they have.
Yeah, that game against Illinois State there in the second half, as Illinois State kind of built that lead, there was a concerning amount of hero ball with not a lot of heroes on the court, I thought, and just kind of quick shots and not really methodical, or you catch someone down low, and then rather than making the smart play, me ball works to a certain extent until it doesn't. And then once it doesn't, it kind of really shows itself in the worst possible way.
True.
I mean,
yeah, well,
ball ain't gonna go nowhere unless you're the hero. If you play hero ball and you suck, you're the villain.
Exactly. And that's what we're looking at. We got a couple
you
villains.
You can't have a team full of villains because there's only one good Joker.
Batman to the Joker, man, because you went 0 for 6 and you just wouldn't pass the ball.
Well, and not only going 0 for 6, but just taking 6 ill-advised shots. But we can go ahead and move on here. Bakes, I seen you've been a little quiet down there. Do you want to jump back in, hit another little sponsorship run here for us so we can pay some bills?
Most definitely. I want to give a shout out to Hybrid Promotions, OTT Records, and Self-Made the Label Music.
Absolutely. Self-Made the Label Hybrid.com, code JT, code Slim. We're going to have a code Juice coming soon. So pick somebody you like or pick somebody you hate. Go use a code. Go get a t-shirt. With that being said, we're going to get to the big topic tonight. Lots of familiar faces here in the NFC. Once again, I apologize to anyone that roots for the AFC. We don't really give a shit about you. This is kind of all about these NFC teams right now.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. I'm interested in the Bears-Packers. I'm looking for the Packers to go ahead and take care of business if possible. The Niners got a big test. The Rams.
Yeah, so do the Rams.
Bryce Young is not. He's not going to be handling business.
Well, the Rams lost this game against Carolina in Carolina earlier, right around Thanksgiving, I believe. So this will kind of be the grudge match of that.
Who has the better success in the playoffs recently, the Panthers or the Rams?
Well, the Panthers can barely spell playoffs, so they should just be lucky to be here. It took 2 other teams losing a game for them to make the playoffs, and we have once again reached the serendipity level of a team that goes 8-9 making the playoffs. So we are fully back as a country as far as the NFL playoffs goes.
Well, the Panthers are the Dallas Cowboys of the playoffs this year. Them and the Eagles, both teams seem back into the playoffs. Like, specifically the Eagles, man. They started off like really looking like they were going to be Super Bowl contenders, and before the end of the season, it looked like them and the Chiefs was both going to be home watching the playoffs just like me. The Rams, they're a good team. If they come out with that 3 tight end set, I think that the Panthers will be in trouble, but we got to put some respect on the Panthers, man. They got a good running back, they wide receiver who could be up for Rookie of the Year, and Bryce Young is starting to look like he did back at Alabama instead of like he did his first year in the league. So we might have to put a little respect on them boys. I look at this playoff brackets. It's gonna get real ugly in this first round. We got the Packers and the Bears. A lot of people saying that the Bears wouldn't have won if Jordan Love wouldn't have got knocked out. I personally believe And my mom said it best. Y'all got to put some respect on Caleb Williams' name right now. Don't worry about what color his fingernails is. Worry about how many times he end up in that end zone. And as far as the AFC, the only thing I have to say is put a little respect on them Houston Texans. Like their team, their franchise, from the moment that they got DeMarco Ryans, I knew what was going to happen. You got a defensive minded coach. They build around the offensive and defensive first. So I think we need to put a little bit of respect on them Houston Texans. Now, if they go out there and wet the bed, hey, that's on me. I'll eat that ill. But I also think that the Broncos are just sitting at home waiting to stay at home. They're going to get rolled by whoever wins and they play in that round because they're not ready for this.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, kind of looking at these potential matchups here. I'm going to go ahead and say the Patriots will beat the Chargers. So the Chargers will not be the team facing the Broncos. It's the real interesting matchup here is the Bills and Jaguars. The Jaguars kind of came out of nowhere this year.
His name, man.
And
my boy, you can no longer pick him in the 7th round of fantasy drafts anymore. There's no longer picking Trevor Lawrence up in the 7th round of fantasy drafts.
yeah, no, he I think he cemented himself as a top 5 quarterback this year, especially with this kind of turnaround. And then you also have the question of Josh Allen's deal has always been either Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes is in his way to making a Super Bowl. Well, neither of those guys are in the playoffs this year. So what's if something does happen and they do happen to lose, granted they are the 6th seed, but you're the 6th seed because you couldn't get it done during the regular season to be able to be that 2 seed. So are they going to be able to figure it out and kind of roll through the road? The Rams are kind of in the same spot as well, where
you can't roll the offense, and the Bills have been rolling the dice quite often. They need to show some consistency. Josh Allen is a tremendous quarterback.
yes.
What about the receivers? How many 1,000-yard receivers have they had in the last 2 seasons?
But right now, the Bills got the consistency of a handful of sand. I just can't work with that. I love Josh Allen to death, man. He's probably my favorite quarterback in the league. But y'all got to figure out a way to put it together on offense and defense. It's always a running back injured or a running back's not playing well or a wide receivers or some other. Like Josh can't be the whole offense.
Right. Do you think Sean McDermott gets fired if they lose this game to Jacksonville?
I think
that'd be crazy.
I think it could be a discussion, but I don't see a coach out there good enough for me to fire him to go get somebody else. If that makes sense.
What if they hired John Harbaugh? How crazy would that be?
Like if you really want to pull the trigger on Harbaugh, I personally think he's gonna stay in that division. I think he'll end up in Cleveland more than likely. But if you feel like Harbaugh is your guy, he's been where he's been for 18 years. So if you got to cut the trigger, you got to do what you got to do to get over that hump. We seen the same thing with the Bucks with Tony Dungy back in the day. Sometimes you got everybody on the field you need, but you just need that little extra to get to where you're trying to be.
We got to stop firing winning coaches. It seems to be what's going on in the NFL. It's like you've been to the playoffs your whole life. Fired.
Yeah, one shitty year, you got to go. Sorry, JT. It sounds like the Packers might be in the mix for a new coach, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think that'd be. There was points during the season where yes, I was frustrated with Matt LaFleur, but I don't think it'd be a right move. And I don't think it really matters anyway. I don't think the Packers are interested in moving on for Matt LaFleur. I think he's the right guy. Again, you have to look at what would you be replacing him with.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of value in having a schematic head coach. Your offense is always going to stay intact. Now, do I think that Matt LaFleur needs to make some changes? Of course, maybe he needs to get one of these, like a Mike McDaniels or Brian Dable or someone like that to be an offensive coordinator. and kind of take the heat off. Kind of like what Nick Sirianni did to give some juice to the Eagles. So I'd be really surprised if the Packers moved on from Matt LaFleur. I guess I can't really say that I'm happy with how he's performed, but I think it would be too detrimental for Jordan Love's kind of progression, and I'm pretty happy with all things considered with what Matt LaFleur's been doing.
Yeah, you brought up Sirianni there, and he's kind of another name that here in the last 4 weeks or so is as Bake said, firing winning coaches. Sirianni's name has kind of popped up on the radar of coaches that maybe might not be very job secure. And, that could be also in part due to the fact that it seems to be more and more growing in public that his quarterback, his running back, and his number one wide receiver are not the biggest Nick Sirianni fans. I don't know how true that necessarily is, but that kind of seems to be the whispers that are growing there out in Philadelphia. And
Bro, a lot of that is just being in Philadelphia, man. I went to Philadelphia. It's a rough environment, man. They threw snowballs at Santa Claus. Like they
Sirianni's
ate that
also
man
kind of a dick too.
here, bro.
Yes, he is.
It's
So
a tough environment.
that stick can wear off real quick, especially if you got a quarterback like Jalen Hurts and a wide receiver like AJ Brown and a running back like Saquon Barkley, and
They just
you're
haven't
lucky.
produced.
You're
offense.
lucky to move the ball 20 yards in the second half of a game. Like, I don't even know how that's possible. I mean,
You can't have an offense full of Pro Bowlers that don't do Pro Bowl things when you need them to. Like, it can't be all Saquon. It shouldn't be all Jalen. You got two good wide receivers. You got a good offensive line. You got a damn good tight end. There's no reason for us to constantly be wondering why the Eagles' offense has been stymied.
well, it's not
And
only
to
that, but
back
it's
what you
fallen
said
into the
earlier
tush push
about the
too.
coach in Green Bay, I think he's an excellent coach. I don't know if he's a great coach. He's a good coach, but I think he could be a great coach. But if we firing anybody in Green Bay, let's keep it 100. It need to be the offensive or the defensive coordinators because y'all are the problems. The Packers have all the wide receivers in the world. Their defense is never as tight as it need to be or as good as it need to be on paper. You got to look at the coordinators over the coach sometimes, bro.
I'm with you on the offensive stuff. I think calling for Green Bay's the defensive coordinator. I mean, Jeff Hafley's going to get a head coaching job. I think Jeff Hafley's done an incredible job with Green Bay's defense. I mean, they've been decimated with injuries.
Yeah, injuries have killed him.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you on the offensive side of things, and I think that comes to maybe Matt LaFleur, ceding some control. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see that. I think he said before he's not going to do that. But I don't disagree with that. But I'm as a Packer fan, I'm pretty happy with where this defense should be when healthy. Obviously, I'm not happy with it right now because there's so many injuries. And any deficiencies on Green Bay's defense is just because Brian Gutekunst didn't think to get us any good cornerbacks. So, yeah,
That always seems to be the problem. On paper, y'all have a really good defense almost every year, but it seems like either the injury bug or just a lack of good play at cornerbacks. It's almost like a curse of Charles Woodson. Y'all had Charles Woodson. He did so many things there, and then once he left, it's like hard to get that caliber of talent in the secondary again.
Yeah. Yeah, we about had we had a pretty decent Jair Alexander for a few years, but man, he fell off hard last year.
Yeah, and then he was pretty loud. And
yes,
you can be loud, whatever, man. But once you start being loud, and then you start doing dumb shit on top of being loud to the point where
loud and good. You can't be loud.
Yeah, you can be loud and good, but as soon as you're loud and you're being a distraction, and then suddenly you're kind of the reason that we maybe lost a couple games, like that shit kind of reels out or kind of plays itself out real quick and gets old really, really fast. I mean, you've seen it in the NFL over the years with, some of these guys being, egocentric, and that's what the league needs. But at the same time, I mean, look at Josh Norman. You know, he
You
was
gotta have but you gotta know how to tone your personality, to where you at. Everybody can't be T.O. and Antonio Brown all the time.
you're not, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We don't need
Uh,
that energy in every.
We most definitely don't.
I'm curious to hear from you Bakes and you Juice about how you're feeling going into this. I can't remember what day this game's going to be played. We don't have it here on this graphic, unfortunately. But how you're feeling going into this matchup is
It's Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon. Yeah, so you could there is a very very high possibility that both the Rams that all three of our teams could win this weekend, and it could become a war next week.
Yeah. I'm just glad to see all three of our teams in the mix. But I won't give Caleb Williams his credit until I see him get a playoff win. And I stand on
And
that.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
He was
Until
for those who didn't keep
Yeah.
track, he was only 38 yards away from being the first Bears quarterback to have 4,000 passing yards in a season. So the streak continues for those people who are degenerate enough to bet on that type of stuff.
Now, as y'all know, I'm a diehard Niners fan. So before I give y'all my opinion on how I feel about it, let's just take a second to look at this playoff bracket. Um, if a few teams lose, we have the potential to crown a brand new champion in the NFL. Like we have a chance to have somebody else be the new golden boy that's not Patrick Mahomes for the first time in quite some time. So let's just look back at
6
that
years.
bracket and just be amazed that if Stafford and Rodgers and a few of the other usual suspects dip out, we could be crowning a new king.
I
But
forgot that the
as,
Steelers made it in there.
as a Niners fan, I'm excited but worried at the same time. Um, I I looked at the Seattle Lofts as a gift and a curse. You want to come into the playoffs playing your best football, but if you're gonna lose, you want to make sure you lose before you get to the playoffs. You want as much momentum as you can. Our team just ran out of players, man. Like, and that's why I said a couple weeks ago that I feel like Shanahan should be coach of the year because this was supposed to be a rebuilding year. And look how many wins San Francisco got on the side of that thing. Because we don't rebuild. We just come back and keep doing what we do. Winning isn't everything, it's what we do. But when you out here and you're not making tackles and you thinking before reacting, I seen a lot of that in the Seattle game, and I pray to God I don't see that when we face the Eagles. Now, as far as matchups are concerned, like I said, the Eagles are backed up. They seemingly are backed into the playoffs this year. Their offense is seemingly a mess. You just call some dudes out of retirement just to have a pass rush. We might be catching these dudes at the perfect time to hit them in the mouth.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see that the 49ers are a near touchdown underdog to the Eagles. I mean, I
Really?
know you're walking into Lincoln Financial. Yeah, you got the Eagles -6. I know you're walking into Lincoln Financial Field for a playoff game, which is a tough place to play. But I was kind of surprised to see that that the Eagles were such a large favorite because I think the Niners have a good chance to win it outright.
When do either of you guys know when Fred Warner is supposed to be back? I know there was a chance that
Uh,
he might
from
be
what I've
back for the
heard,
playoffs.
Fred Warner has been practicing this week. He's got a stabilizer in his ankle that's holding him together, so he's able to recoup a little faster than normal. From what I heard last time, is if we make it to the NFC Championship game, he would be available. But with modern technology, hey, we seen TL run on a broken leg. So I just want him to be 100% stable when he come back because I would rather him come back 100% than come back 80% and get, a re-aggravated injury. We just want the
Yeah,
best for Fred because Fred is the best linebacker in the league.
yeah. This show is 100% for the horse tranquilizers for our favorite players to get out there and play on the field.
This is this game's gonna come down to quarterback play. Simple, plain. Which quarterback comes out there and puts out the best performance is going to win this game.
I don't disagree.
And I think both teams have a quarterback that has a certain skill set to put points on the board. It's just who's going to be hot, who's going and who's not. So,
well, are the Eagles going to play to win, or are the Eagles going to play not to lose? That's kind of another thing you got to look for in this game. They snuck away with the that win against the Bills. Somehow miraculously, because Allen missed that wide open receiver on that 2-point try there at the end of regulation. You give Allen that pass 10 times, he probably completes that pass 9 times out of 10. That just happened to be the one that fell incomplete. The Eagles only had about 27 total yards of offense in the second half of that game, and the fact that you can win a game with 27 yards of offense in any sort of half is not only asinine, but it just kind of shows how lucky they maybe are to be in this position. And I mean, it's the playoffs, boys. So you're not playing the damn Arizona Cardinals, at State Farm Stadium in Week 13. I mean, these are legit teams you're playing. So are you going to be able to continue to get away with that week after week for the next 4 weeks, or is that going to be something that just kind of falls apart real quick? We're going to find out really fast here with these guys.
And we got 2 of the best running backs in the league. So this game has a potential to be the quickest game of the weekend.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Kind of forget about Barkley being there.
It might be an hour and a half long.
Yeah. Just the continuous running clock.
Yes.
I man, in my mind, I want the 49ers to win by 10 points, and we just run the ball the whole fourth quarter. That would be a perfect win for us. But we don't live in a perfect world, and I know Philadelphia is coming to play because, like you said, they got a Super Bowl winning coach that might be on the hot seat. This is a different type of NFL this season. It's been a long season. Everybody's out here trying to win, and everybody gonna put it all out on the field for these next 3 days this weekend. It's an exciting time to be a football fan.
Yeah, no, it's gonna get fun here. Speaking of football here real quick before we get out, since it has gone final, I'll go ahead and pull this back up. The belt to ass was completed by Indiana for sure tonight. They ended up winning 56-22. I think there was a late garbage touchdown maybe by Oregon to make it 56-22, but Indiana just you almost kind of run out of words to be able to describe this team at this point. Looking at them, I know I told you guys all off air that I recently was able to find a way to start playing college football on the Xbox, and this Indiana team they are almost the epitome of what you would expect to build playing a college football game.
They got a very special team, man. I feel like it's just a lot of things all went the right way for Indiana. Like, think about like 3 years ago. Was anybody talking about Indiana football? We was barely talking about Indiana basketball, and that's a consummate to the people in charge. From the person in charge of the athletic commission and directorship all the way down to the head coaching. And also, you gotta believe, man. Like, you think when them kids came to Indiana, they thought that they'd be up for a national championship in 2 years? Most of them was just hoping to make it to the league or even have a couple games on television. What we witnessing here is a perfect storm. I would equate it to you watching Cinderella with your kid, and then when Cinderella come out, she got a fat ass. Indiana is Cinderella with a fat ass.
Well, speaking of fat asses, if we're gonna talk about bags real quick, I don't know if you guys have it on in the background, but I just seen Mark Cuban, posing there on the side on the field with.
I didn't know he was so affiliated with Indiana.
I did not know that either. I had heard that, but I guess I kind of forgot about it, and then seeing him down there on the field just now, it kind of makes a lot of sense that that'd be one of the guys where $20 million could be pissed down the drain every year from, and it wouldn't make a dent in his life.
years ago. We just didn't see that episode.
Oh, Kurt Signetti coming on there pitching Indiana football.
Let me get for 20% of Indiana football. I need a $1.5 million investment.
Per player.
Damon Johnson, I'm out.
Well,
Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, he was all over that shit. He tried to lowball him. Mark Cuban was like, "Nah, man, I got this."
yeah, speaking of Kevin O'Leary, everyone go check out Marty Supreme.
Everything Mark Cuban touched turns to gold, man. This dude has got the Midas touch of business.
Yeah, and look what happened when he left the Mavs. They turned to shit.
That needs to be studied.
Yeah, JT, who you got for your NCAA champion?
Oh, I think it's going to be Indiana. I'd love to give you the sexy upset pick, but I think Indiana's going to take care of business.
I'm going with the sexy upset pick. Michael Irvin has made me a believer. This man has been on the sidelines. No one has been more happy, more excited about football right now. He's got me believing that these guys have the potential to get it done.
Hey, you know what he says? You better run that slant.
Hey, if anybody would know, it'd be Michael Irvin. I mean, has it ever been a time throughout the history of life where Michael Irvin didn't have the juice? I'll wait.
He might be the most cut 60-year-old I've ever seen. I don't know if you guys seen the video that was floating around a couple weeks ago, but he like ripped his shirt off or pulled his shirt up, and this dude had like a 16 pack on his stomach, and he could be all of our dads at this point with how old he is. So I
don't know if any of y'all have ever seen Young Rock. This is a show about The Rock when he was a kid, and it kind of goes through 3 different stages of his life. When he went to Miami, Michael Irvin was out there with a chinchilla fur coat on. It was like 97 degrees. He had a chinchilla and a chain. He was like, "I'm too hot." He was like, "I'm too cold to be hot." That's Michael Irvin swag right there, bro.
Love it.
We all just want to be like Michael Irvin.
I mean, we should all aspire to be him, or at least have the same energy as him, because he either solidifies the Miami mindset, or he's partaking in the Miami mindset. Either way, he's got energy that I think we all could use in life.
And let's see what them Hurricanes do, man. Like I said, Miami turned into the old Miami overnight, seemingly. Like, did anybody predict Miami having this kind of run when the playoffs started? I don't think so.
You know, I would
looking good.
I would like to point out that this whole revamp and revive for Miami came after a particular loss last late December to an Iowa State team in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, who actually is now at Penn State. But we'll leave that for another day. But I think you can credit Matt Campbell for the resurgence of the Miami Hurricanes. Clip that, Spencer. Well, gentlemen, I don't have much else. Why don't who wants to take the turn to land the plane tonight? Dre, you ain't landed the plane yet. Why don't you go ahead and bring us home and touch us down?
Shout out to the promotions. Go ahead, get your merch. Hybrid Promotions, they doing big things. Self-made the label. Go out here, get your merch, get your tickets. Make sure you do everything you got to do to support us on this channel so we can keep supporting you with this good content. Thank you for everybody for a wonderful show. And I can't wait to be back for another one. I hope everybody's having a healthy and prosperous new year. And keep your head up, man. Always remember, never make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Always pick up the phone if you got something going on, man.
Amen, brother.
Help is just all the way.
Amen. All right. Well, for Friday Night Live, JT Young Bakes and Uncle Juice, we appreciate having you on tonight. We will catch you next week.